The movie opens with a chilling heist that turns deadly. Two security guards transporting cash in an armored truck are stopped by what seems to be a construction crew. But as soon as the truck halts, the workers reveal their true intention, pulling out guns and explosives to rob the truck. Both guards are killed, along with several bystanders caught in the crossfire. The tragedy sends shockwaves through Fortico security, forcing the company to tighten its protocols in an attempt to prevent another such incident. Fast forward 5 months, and a new recruit named Patrick Hill joins Fortico as a security guard. During his orientation, his boss, Terry, brings up the devastating heist,
but just so you know, we lost a couple of guards a while back,
and bluntly tells Patrick that the culprits are still at large. With this grim backdrop, Patrick is warned to stay alert and follow every rule to the letter. Patrick, quickly nicknamed H, starts his training under the guidance of a seasoned guard called Bullet.
I'm gonna call you H, if that's okay. They call me Bullet.
But his performance is less than stellar. He barely scrapes by on the qualification tests, scoring just the minimum 70% required. During firearm practice, his shots scatter far from the target, and while practicing truck maneuvers, he backs into a stack of crates. Despite the rocky start, H presses on, determined to prove himself. In the locker room, Bullet introduces H to the team. The group immediately sizes him up, and it's clear he's the new kid on the block. Sweet Boy, a brash and sharp-tongued guard, doesn't take kindly to H's humor and starts a verbal sparring match.
He looks like he could handle a cock.
Yeah, small hands. Makes me very popular, and you look good.
Meanwhile, Dana, the sole female guard on the team, seems intrigued by the quiet newcomer. The rest of the crew, including Sticky John, who is bitter about H taking his spot, greet him with thinly veiled sarcasm. On his first shift, H rides along with Bullet and Sweet Boy as they make routine cash pickups. Before they hit the road, Bullet sets the tone, warning H that in this job they're predators, not prey.
Do you have any idea how dangerous this job can be?
Some idea, yeah.
No, you have no idea.
During the drive, Sweet Boy gets chatty, sharing a grim twist of fate. He reveals that he was originally scheduled to be driving the truck attacked 5 months ago, but had called in sick that day. His alibi? He was staying at his mother's house, a fact that saved him from both suspicion and the deadly ambush.
Sick. All holes.
The first collection goes without a hitch. Back at the depot, H gets a glimpse of the high-security setup. Heavy gates, metal detectors, and a sharp-eyed Sticky John guarding the entrance. At the end of the day, the guards remove their ID badges and place them on a board, a subtle yet important routine. The team heads out to a local bar to unwind, and Bullet invites H to join. Before leaving, H lingers for a moment, discreetly inspecting the ID badges of his new colleagues. At the bar, the team relaxes over drinks and a game of pool, but the mood sours when the guards prod Sticky John to pick a fight with H, blaming him for taking his job. H handles the confrontation with calm precision, effortlessly putting Sticky John in his place. To everyone's surprise, he then hands John some cash, telling him to buy himself a drink and cool off. Embarrassed but unwilling to escalate further, Sticky John slinks away. Bullet watches the exchange, amused, and sarcastically dubs H a social wizard. Things take a dramatic turn during one of their next shifts. Bullet steps out to retrieve a small $10,000 pickup, but doesn't return. Sweet Boy's attempts to contact him over the radio are met with silence.
Bullet, unless you found some beautiful blue-eyed Latino boy, you should be back by now.
Until a chilling voice crackles through the line. Robbers have taken Bullet hostage.
If you want to see your girlfriend again, you'll do exactly as I say.
Sweet Boy panics, urging H to drive back to the depot.
I call this. No. They don't want his 10 grand. They don't want his 10 grand. The money's in the truck. We have $2.5 million in here. If we take it away.
Rationalizing that the robbers will release Bullet since the money isn't worth killing over. But H stands his ground, firmly declaring that they're not leaving without their colleague. His quiet confidence convinces Sweet Boy to stay, and they follow the robbers' instructions. The truck is directed to a desolate area. When they arrive, a masked robber steps out of a vehicle, dragging Bullet with a gun pressed against his head. Another robber barks orders for H and Sweet Boy to throw the cash into the trunk. The boy panics, warning H that the robbers will kill them all if he doesn't follow their orders. Ignoring him, H calmly heads to the back of the truck and begins throwing the bags of money out one by one. However, he deliberately tosses one bag off to the side onto the ground. One of the robbers, noticing this, sternly warns H not to try any tricks.
Now listen up, boy. I said throw the money in the flatbed.
Meanwhile, the boy continues to plead with H to comply, growing more frantic with each passing second. As one of the robbers steps out to retrieve the misplaced bag, H seizes the moment. With precision and speed, he shoots the robber, quickly followed by the one holding Bullet. A fierce shootout ensues with the remaining attackers. Despite their efforts, one robber manages to escape. Determined to pursue him, H leaves Bullet and the boy behind and follows the fleeing man into an abandoned warehouse. Inside, H corners the robber in no time. He demands to know who sent him, but instead of answering, the robber hurls insults taunting him. Remaining unfazed, H knocks the man out cold. Shortly after, Bullet and the boy catch up to him. With a mix of sarcasm and calm, H asks the boy if he's still feeling confident, subtly mocking his earlier bravado about handling robbers. Bullet and the boy, still reeling from the chaos, barely manage a response. H turns his attention to the masked bodies of the dead robbers. He removes their masks one by one, hoping to find someone he recognizes, but none of them are the person he's been seeking. Later, 2 FBI agents arrive on the scene to investigate. They interrogate H about his remarkable accuracy during the shootout, pointing out the stark contrast with his unimpressive shooting test results on record. H coolly explains that adrenaline and a life-or-death situation sharpened his focus, allowing him to act with precision. The agents show him surveillance footage of a man shooting 3 victims during a previous heist and ask if he recognizes anyone. H studies the pixelated image, but denies knowing the person. In private, the agents report back to their superior FBI agent King, disclosing their suspicion that H might be the man they've been tracking for 25 years. King dismisses their concerns, remarking that H is just a painter who can draw whatever he needs to cover his tracks. He orders his team to steer clear of H, suggesting they leave him alone. After the violent encounter, Terry recommends that H take a month off from field duty and attend mandatory psychoanalysis sessions as required by company protocol. However, the Fortico boss sees things differently. Believing that H's actions are good for the company's reputation, he decides to promote him instead. H is immediately reinstated, continuing his work as an armored truck guard. Unbeknownst to his colleagues, H begins working behind the scenes, hiring an assistant to compile detailed personal files on all Fortico employees. The investigation includes family photos, personnel records, and even autopsy reports from the guards killed in the earlier heist. 3 months later, H and Bullet are on a routine collection run when their truck is ambushed by another gang of armed robbers. The attackers douse the truck's windows and mirrors with black paint, obstructing visibility. Bullet quickly radios a red code alert, but the robbers escalate their assault, using tools to force the guards out of the truck. Bullet collapses to the ground, coughing from the chaos while H steps out calmly. As the robbers confront him and demand he lie down, something unexpected happens. The moment they see H's face, they immediately retreat, abandoning the heist altogether. Back at Fortico, Terry is baffled by the robbers' reaction and marvels at H's repeated ability to handle intense situations. The boss, maintaining his mysterious composure, simply instructs Terry to keep spotlighting their best guy. Bullet, however, privately confides to a colleague about H's ominous presence, cryptically referring to him as a dark spirit. Meanwhile, H's personal life takes an unexpected turn when Dana finally confesses her feelings for him. The two spend the night together at her place, their connection deepening amid the ongoing chaos surrounding his work and mission. In the dead of night, H confronts Dana at gunpoint, his demeanor cold and calculated. He demands answers about the hidden money he found in her possession, suspecting she might be working as a courier or involved in something larger. Dana, visibly shaken, denies any connections to organized schemes, insisting that she simply stole the money during one of her assignments. H remains skeptical and reveals that he has extensive knowledge of her contacts, including her family, warning her not to hold back any details. The tension between them is palpable as Dana pleads her innocence. The narrative then shifts to 5 months earlier, painting a starkly different picture of H's life. He spends a peaceful day with his son Dougie, savoring a rare moment of normalcy. The tranquility is disrupted when Mike, one of H's associates, and unbeknownst to Dougie, a participant in a recent heist, calls with an urgent request. Mike explains that their plan has hit a snag, and one of their usual crew members can't make it to a critical location near H's position. The task seems simple. Observe a Fortico truck as it leaves the gates and report whether it turns left or right. Reluctant to involve himself, H eventually agrees. On the way to the location, he notices a food truck parked near the gate and seizes the opportunity to disguise his true intentions. Claiming hunger, he parks the car and instructs Dougie to stay inside while he grabs some burritos.
Be 2 minutes, okay? Keep the doors locked. Don't go anywhere.
From the food truck, H watches the Fortico vehicle turn right and relays the information to Mike. Tragically, just down the road, a different group of robbers disguised as construction workers ambushes the Fortico truck. Unknowingly, the robbery unfolds mere meters from where H has parked. One of the robbers, growing suspicious, spots Dougie in the car and orders him to get out. Panicked, Dougie calls for his father, but H, still distracted on the phone with Mike, doesn't hear him. Dougie obeys the robber's commands, stepping out and lying face down on the ground. But in a devastating twist, he turns his head at the worst moment, catching a glimpse of the robber removing their mask. The sight seals his fate. Without hesitation, the robber kills the guards, and moments later, Dougie, H, finally realizing what's happening, races back to his car, arriving just in time to see his son's murder. Enraged and desperate, he charges toward the robber, but is shot down before he can act. When H regains consciousness 3 weeks later, he finds himself in a hospital bed, physically wounded and emotionally shattered. The crushing news of Dougie's death is relayed to him, and his grief is compounded by Dougie's mother, who blames him for their son's death. Her accusations cut deep as she calls him cold-hearted, accusing him of failing to protect their child. Haunted by guilt and consumed by vengeance, H turns to his longtime friend, FBI Agent King, for help identifying the robbers. King, limited in his resources, provides H with a list of known criminals to investigate. Determined to find justice, H, along with Mike and their crew, launches a brutal campaign, hunting down and eliminating suspects across the city's criminal underworld. Despite their relentless efforts and a trail of bodies left behind, the real killer remains elusive. Realizing that their current methods aren't working, Mike proposes a change in strategy. H agrees and announces his temporary return to London. Before leaving, he instructs his assistant to create a false identity for him under the name Patrick Hill, complete with an impeccable yet fabricated security background. Armed with this new persona, H secures a position at Fortico Security, embedding himself within the company to uncover leads and track down the true culprits. In a parallel storyline set months earlier, 6 war veterans, disillusioned and struggling with financial hardships, come together under the leadership of their former sergeant, Jackson. United by a shared sense of frustration and desperation, they devise a plan to target wealthy Middle Eastern residents. Persuaded by Jan, one of the more ambitious members, the group embarks on a series of robberies, initially stealing a few $100,000. But as the money flows in, their ambitions grow larger. While Jackson maintains authority over the group, Jan begins to see himself as an equal, or perhaps something more. Frustrated with the many intermediaries needed to convert stolen goods into cash, Jackson and his crew decide to simplify their operations by targeting armored trucks directly. This strategy requires only one insider, allowing the stolen money to be split into 7 shares. With their heists now yielding millions, Jackson cautions the group to maintain a low profile, no sudden resignations from their day jobs or flashy purchases. However, Jan, the most reckless member of the group, consistently ignores Jackson's advice, indulging in behavior that could easily draw unwanted attention. During Jackson's birthday celebration, the crew agrees to plan one final lucrative heist, robbing a Fortico truck carrying a substantial payload. They prepare meticulously, disguising themselves as construction workers to avoid suspicion. On the day of the robbery, the crew takes their positions, unaware that H has parked his car nearby, with his son, Dougie, inside. Initially, Jackson sees no issue with the parked car, instructing his men to keep an eye on it. As the robbery unfolds, the crew executes their plan, forcing the armored truck guards to exit the vehicle, while Jan holds one at gunpoint. Another crew member drags Dougie out of H's car, forcing him to lie face down on the ground. Meanwhile, the rest of the team moves quickly to secure the money bags. Everything seems to proceed smoothly until one of the guards attempts to reach for his weapon. Jan, quick to react, removes the guard's mask and kills him without hesitation. He then turns his gun on the second guard, eliminating him as well. When Jackson asks if the situation is under control, Jan casually confirms, concealing the escalating chaos. However, Dougie, lying terrified on the ground, has witnessed everything. Realizing the boy could identify them, Jan coldly shoots Dougie, The crew is stunned, and one member furiously berates Jan for jeopardizing the entire operation. Their heated argument is interrupted when they spot H running toward them. Panicked, one of the crew urges Jan to incapacitate him, suggesting a shot to the legs. Jan, however, fires directly into H's chest, locking eyes with him as he falls to the ground. Months later, the group regathers, driven by greed and a desire for even larger payouts. Despite their previous windfall, they find themselves unsatisfied. Jackson reprimands Jan, reminding him that his reckless behavior nearly cost them everything. Jackson then outlines an ambitious plan for their next and final heist, robbing the entire Fortico fleet on Black Friday, a day when over $150 million is expected to be in transit. He emphasizes the high stakes, but promises that if successful, this operation will secure their financial futures forever. At the Fortico depot, Terry briefs the guards about heightened security measures for Black Friday, urging them to remain vigilant.
Take different routes there and back.
Even a sniff of anything untoward, and you call it in.
However, the crew's internal tensions continue to build. Jackson grows increasingly frustrated with Jan's defiance, particularly his reckless spending, which Jackson warns could attract attention. On the day of the heist, Bullet and H partner for their shift. After completing their last run, Bullet finally reveals his dark secret. He is the insider who assisted the crew that robbed their truck months ago, a robbery that led to the deaths of 3 people, including Dougie. Bullet explains that the guards were always intended to be killed, but the child's death was an unfortunate and unintended consequence. To H's shock, Bullet further admits to disarming him, removing the bullets from his gun. He warns H that the crew plans to rob the depot that day and advises him to remain calm and cooperative if he wants to survive. As H processes this revelation, the enormity of the betrayal becomes clear, setting the stage for a dangerous confrontation. Bullet disables the truck's cameras and drives it to the depot, where Jackson and his crew are waiting. As they regroup, one of the crew members strikes H across the face, issuing a warning for him to cooperate during the heist. Jan and 3 other veterans board the armored truck, while Jackson and another crew member follow closely in their car. When the truck arrives at the depot and the gates open, chaos ensues. The armed robbers emerge, quickly taking control of the parking area and capturing Terry, the boy, and H, even Bullet, despite being their insider, is theatrically taken hostage to maintain appearances. Meanwhile, Dana walks toward another truck to get a signature from Stewart, one of the guards. Unaware of the unfolding heist, Stewart distracts her with a funny video. Inside the depot, the robbers tie H to restrict his movements and hold a gun to Bullet's head, demanding that the internal staff open the vault's heavy metal door. Sticky John, upon spotting the intruders, triggers the alarm, prompting a firefight between the depot guards and the robbers.
Bullet, get down!
Amid the chaos, one of the robbers plants explosives on the metal door. The crew exchanges heavy fire with the guards, sustaining minimal injuries thanks to their ballistic vests. However, one of the robbers is critically wounded. Once the explosives detonate, the vault door is breached, allowing Jackson and the others to enter with their vehicle. With the depot under their control, Jackson commands his team to spread out and secure the area. Outside, the police arrive, their presence signaling the impending arrival of SWAT. Knowing SWAT could stop their escape, the robbers work quickly, loading money into bags while counting down the 8 minutes before reinforcements arrive. The robbers kill most of the guards but fail to locate Dana, Stewart, and Shirley, who hide in the back of an armored truck. Stewart urges the others to wait for SWAT, but Shirley insists on taking action. She opens fire, hitting one of the robbers, creating a momentary distraction. Seizing this opportunity, H uses his concealed pistol to shoot one of the robbers in the leg, frees himself with a hidden knife. H quickly unties Terry and the boy. When the boy looks to him for guidance, H tells them to make their own decision. The pair choose to escape through the depot's back entrance, with Terry dragging the boy to safety as H dons the gear of a fallen robber and prepares for the fight ahead. As Shirley continues shooting, she is ultimately killed during the exchange. Dana and Stewart grab weapons and engage the robbers. H advances methodically, removing the helmet of one robber before dispatching them. The remaining crew immediately notices H's actions, triggering a fierce shootout. During the melee, H confronts a heavily armored robber. The two exchange brutal blows before H attempts to fire his pistol, only to find it unloaded. Thinking quickly, he retrieves a knife and uses it to take down his attacker. Meanwhile, Jackson orders the crew to retreat with the money. Bullet reaches Dana and Stewart, feigning loyalty and asking for a weapon. Trusting him, Stewart hands over a gun, but Bullet ruthlessly turns on them, killing both Stewart and Dana without hesitation. Elsewhere, H eliminates 2 more robbers before Bullet ambushes him, shooting him and leaving him injured. Bullet's cruelty continues as he turns his attention to the boy, calling out to him before coldly shooting him as well. By the time the dust settles, only Jackson, Jan, and Bullet remain alive from the crew. They move swiftly to execute the final stage of their plan, entering the building's garage to evade the arriving police forces. As Bullet and Jan begin loading the money onto a cart for the elevator, Jackson, wounded and sitting in the truck, quietly readies his gun. His sights are set on Jan, hinting at a deadly betrayal just moments away. Jan quickly realizes Jackson's intentions and, without hesitation, slits his throat in a calculated move. He coldly informs Bullet that Jackson succumbed to his wounds as they descend into a hidden tunnel. The two make their way to the other end, where a getaway car is waiting. As they load the money into the car, the tension between them becomes palpable. Bullet, aware of Jan's ruthless nature, contemplates betraying him, just as Jackson had attempted. However, his hesitation proves fatal. Jan notices Bullet's intent, pulls his gun without hesitation, and shoots him. With Bullet dead, Jan takes all the money and drives off, leaving no loose ends. Later, Jan relaxes in his apartment, savoring a drink and basking in the success of his escape. His moment of triumph is interrupted by the sound of a phone ringing. Confused, he follows the noise and discovers a phone hidden inside one of the money bags. Before he can make sense of it, he notices a figure emerging from the shadows. H.
What do you want? You here for the money?
Jan tries to mask his shock and offers H a portion of the money, attempting to negotiate his way out of the situation. H doesn't respond with words. Instead, he tosses a document at Jan, the autopsy report of his son, Dougie. Jan picks it up and reads the haunting details. 4 bullets, each striking vital organs: the liver, lungs, spleen, and heart. The memory of Dougie's murder and H's presence during the heist floods back to him. Before John can react, H raises his gun, methodically delivering the same 4 shots to Jan that had killed his son. Each shot is precise, mirroring the pain and loss H endured. Jan collapses, his life ending just as coldly as the one he had taken. As H limps out of the apartment, his vengeance complete, he is greeted by FBI agent King, who has been waiting outside. King calmly asks if the job is finished. Without looking back, H nods and walks into the night, leaving the scene of his long-sought revenge behind.